chem is you have to be able to calculate mass percent. When we say mass percent or percent by mass, it's the same thing in chemistry. Essentially, anytime you're doing mass percent, we're doing it in grams, hence mass, grams of something. And you take the part, the smaller amount of the grams goes on the top, total goes on the bottom in grams, and you divide one to the other times 100, and you get a percent. That's what we do. Now, one of the first things we always do, because we can do this with samples, and you'll see us do this in a lab later, but you can figure out what the mass percent of a sample is, but you can also just do it from its compound. So they'll give you the formula, and they'll be like, hey, what is the percent of sodium? What's the percent of sulfur? What's the percent of oxygen is what they would ask you. That's what mass percent of each element. So you start by doing the molar mass. So we know Na has 1. There's 1 Na. Actually, I lied. There's 2 Nas in the formula. Wow. Okay, that was a good catch. All right, so I go here. There's 2 Nas in the formula. There is 1 sulfur, and there's 4 oxygens. So if we take a look, Na is 23.0, sulfur is 32.1, oxygen is 16. So what I do is I just do the molar mass like I taught you. So you'd multiply all these actually and divide it down, or add it together down here. So 46, 23 times 2, 32.1, and then 16 times 4 would be 64. So when I add this all together, I get 142.1. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the part, which is each of these elements. So I'm going to take each of these elements right here. So I'm going to start with like sodium. Sodium is 46. The total molar mass is 142. So the total molar mass goes on the bottom. I'm going to take that 46 and that part and pop it on the top. And that's how I'm going to get all these calculations done. So I'm going to go 46 over 142.1 times 100. Let's see what we get when we do that. So we go here, 46 divided by 142.1 times 100. I get 32. I'm going to round it to 1 decimal place. So I'm going to get 32.4. It may not equal 100%. It doesn't really matter because of the rounding. That's why. So then I take the next one, the sulfur, which is 32.1 grams. Whoops, can't do that. So I'll take the 32.1 grams. I'll put it right here. So I go 32.1 grams. And that's going to go into 1. So 32.1 divided by 142.1. And I'm going to get 22.6. So 22.6 is going to represent the amount of sulfur. Last but not least, my oxygen is going to be 64. So 64 into 142. So I go 64.0 divided into 142.1. Boom. And I'm going to get 45.0. There you go. And that's how we calculate out mass percent. Mass percent is just simply calculating the molar mass, right? So we already did this. Calculate the molar mass. You multiply, go through there. And then from there, what happens is you just plug it into the formula, part over total. And that's how you calculate mass percent. Pretty simple calculation. We will do it later in the year. We're going to do it with samples where you'll isolate something and see how many grams out of the total, what percentages. We'll do some sort of lab with that as well. Okay.